One of the biggest issues facing the country today is obviously the impending fiscal cliff. How do you propose navigating the debate over cutting expenditures and raising revenues to create greater investment, new jobs, and a less complicated tax system?
Well, let me start with the premise that a tax increase is the last thing that our economy needs right now. And so what I would do is I would support the extension of the existing tax rates for a year and allow us to go ahead and reform the tax code. I think there's agreement on both sides of the aisle that we need to reform the tax code and bring rates down and to make sure that the tax code is simpler and fairer for all and close the special interest loophole, something that we need to do. I also think that the fiscal cliff has a lot to do with the spending and the increased borrowing that is accompanied with that spending. And I had the opportunity to serve last year with Vice President Biden on a commission. We came up with over $2 trillion of savings. Those are some of the kind of savings that we could address, and they included trying to reform our agricultural program, trying to eliminate fraudulent payments in some of our entitlement system, trying to modernize the postal service of this country and to modernize the federal pension systems. It is these kinds of moves that I think we can come together on, and hopefully when we get this election behind us, all agree to sit down and finally resolve them, because for the last 2 years it's been very difficult to try and get both sides to come to say, hey, we want to solve these problems.
Mr. Powell.
I've heard this term fiscal cliff many times, this Washington speak. Well, this is the second fiscal cliff, with all due respect to the question. The first one was last year, and then we had the super committee meet after the debt ceiling talks ended, after Mr. Cantor left those talks in June of last year, and then the Congress decided we'll agree on these sequester funds, which of course we're now facing, and that's the fiscal cliff. I mean, let's be specific. It's about a Congress led by this man to my left who decided that they would rather kick the can down the road till, what did he say, continue the cuts for another year, so that we have to wait yet another year to do what we've got to do, which is make painful cuts. But those cuts shouldn't be done with an axe. Those cuts need to be done with a scalpel. So when I hear fiscal cliff, I hear a person who's dysfunctional, a person who will not cooperate, will not sit down with the opposing party, and that's what we need to do. We need to, first of all, not continue all the tax cuts, and I agree with Tim Kaine that $500,000 should be the limit. I also believe